Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to another amazing round of the iRacing Formula 3.5 Challenge. I'm Austin Knight. I am joined by Avery McDonald. I must say, konnichiwa, as we are here in the land of the rising sun at beautiful Suzuka for, once again, an amazing round for the Formula 3.5s, and another great day here as well. We got Marco in the booth controlling all of our cameras and trying to work furiously fixing our graphics. Avery, while he walked in this morning, he was eating a sandwich and tripped over an important box, and yeah, it broke the graphics, but we have Marco working on that in the background. But yeah, Avery, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling better after the fall, but we're really, real happy we're able to get back up to our feet. I missed last week, so that was kind of unfortunate for me. But back here at Suzuka for this Formula 3.5 series, and I'm just excited to see another great race of this amazing series.
Yeah, amazing series and everything. So we're currently sitting here in qualifying. Suzuka, very long track, so qualifying is going to take a little bit of time as we're looking at Tim DeLa right now, that number one, always number one, that positive sim racing Formula 3.5 car. And Tim, well, he is a very formidable competitor, especially here at Suzuka. This track is so well, it's just such a classic track that, honestly.
Yeah, it's such a classical track. It's just one of the tracks that I'm really bad at, so I've never been a fan of it as a driver, but as a commentator, I've really enjoyed this track. Made my debut with Apex Racing TV at Suzuka. It's always good to always good to come back to something very close to my heart.
Yeah, Suzuka, I'm actually one of my favorite tracks on iRacing. Just love the S's here. Love the Dunlop corner, and especially the double right-handers of Degna 1 and 2. Most people say I hate those corners. Well, I'm a sadist.
Yeah, there's some tough corners there. I was driving about an hour ago, trying to get on this track just to get kind of a feel of how the car handled, and definitely was a very sketchy moment for me. I don't think I really broke into anywhere near the times you're going to be seeing today. This
Oh
top
yeah,
split.
everyone here is laying down times. Currently, pole position is set by Tim DeLisle. Who else would it be? They 141.28, and all these guys in the 141s, and then we got some 142s in there. But those are the average times. The very high 141s and low 142s are going to be the optimum times. Then if you're Tim DeLisle, you're in the low 141s because you're Tim DeLisle.
Yeah, Tim, usually one of the quicker ones in here. But Robert Tarleton has actually been really impressive in qualifying lately. Running really strong in qualifying.
Ooh,
And
Tim's off the track.
Ooh, Tim. Tim was
Just
on a
invalid.
heater.
Yeah, and putting in a purple sector is Robert Tarleton. Robert, he might be coming across and be able to challenge Tim right here if he could just close off 4/10 this lap. Let's go on with the number 11 Ferrari of Robert Tarleton. I would say the biggest up-and-comer in the Formula 3.5 series. He has the speed to stay with Tim DeLisle. And as we saw in the Nürburgring last time by, he gets into the Casino Triangle, gets a great exit. Can Robert Tarleton dethrone Tim DeLisle? Can he repeat what he did at Zandvoort? He comes across the line, and Robert Tarleton does not improve at all. Everett Samborski, the other American, he's coming across the line, does not jump up into second place. He doesn't improve at all either. Car that's coming across the line is Omar Baha and his 13 Sim Q car. And Omar's been having some good luck here, some bad luck here. Has been unfortunately caught up in a lot of incidents, and that's just very unfortunate for him. But here he is coming down the back straight, heading into the sunset. Look at that thing as we go through 130R. And I must say, iRacing, for a game that's released in 2008, it is, oh, I'm sorry, for a simulator released in 2008, it is beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'm just glad I had the graphical power to have the sun in my eyes where I can barely see. Big thanks to my computer for bringing that to me. But Omar Baja, like I said, has had some bad luck in the races, so we'll see if he's gonna be able to turn his luck around. We'll see Flavio, currently the slowest one in the field, the 144.6.
That qualified.
And qualifying, that's qualified. JJ Power hasn't yet to put a qualifying.
Well, actually, James, he did put in 2 laps. Both of them were invalidated as he left the track here. So everybody here putting down times. Rob Crouch, he just put down his first time of a 142.69, and he's starting his second lap. As I believe we have our graphics back. Hey, we do got graphics back, and there they are. Marco and Pascal has fixed this problem. Avery, your big dog pay.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Ooh, Paul, off in 130R. So I think what Paul was trying to do right there was try to take 130R with DRS open. As qualifying is over, and let's go over to our starting grid for Suzuka. Tyndall starts up on pole, followed by Robert Tarleton, Edward Samborski, Greg Olson, Paul Ilbrick, Dominic Gattemeyer, Fabio Ducarmo, Steve Honan, Omar Baja, Manuel Domingo, Phil Reed, and Simone Pizzica in 12th place. They're followed by Rob Crouch, Luke Groom, Alessandro Roccatello, Shane Russell, Jason Henrique, Flavio Saturino, and James J. Pinkster at the end of your grid. 19 cars line up here today. And they're all lined up and ready to go racing here at Suzuka.
Yeah, fun little track we have here, eh? In Suzuka. Hopefully, get well soon, James Malone, man. Hated seeing that news.
Yeah, he is still not back on track. Hopefully, he does get back here. Everyone in the Formula 3.5 community does miss you, James, and we can't wait to see you back on track. And as we are just hovering above the track right now, waiting for everyone to get into the grid spots, Avery, what are you looking forward to in this race here today?
I'm looking forward to, one, to be back here in the Formula 3.5 series, but let's take a look at the start. We need to get a good start if you're trying to make some moves. Tim Delisle usually has a good start, but let's see what Robert Tarleton could do starting in P2. We'll see what he'll be able to do on this start with Samborski right behind Delisle. We got a lot of heavy hitters in here. Well, just waiting for the lights.
Yeah, Tarleton, his starts have been his Achilles heel ever since Zandvoort. He bogged down when he was on pole, and then he tried to do it again. Didn't bog down at all, but his start at Nürburgring was very slow compared to Delisle. Well, we're going to find out if he can do it into turn 1. The 5 red lights are on, and let's go racing here at Suzuka. Great start from Delisle. Tarleton gets a very slow start, and Delisle's immediately trying to cover him up, trying to push him down there, but Tarleton's on his inside, and here goes Samborski around the outside, getting onto the curves. Tarleton holding down the inside line. It's Tarleton, Samborski, and Delisle. All the leading at Samborski's got some company right behind him. That's Greg Olson trying to push in some strong, and Gattemeyer's off.
Yeah, relatively clean start there. You know, Gattemeyer went way off track, but other than that, it's pretty clean. Delisle still leads as normal. See, look at on board we're with Simone Pizzica sitting there, just cracked in the top 10. Fabio Ducarmo, who's always quick, up in the.
Ooh, Pizzica! Massive wiggle, and we got upside down. That's Rob Crouch. Flipping end over end. It looks like something you see out of Talladega Nights. Very unfortunate for Rob Crouch right there. Simone Pizzica, massive wiggle coming out of Daytona 1 and coming out of Daytona 2. That's right in front of him. Then he got into Rob Crouch. No. Oh, he just tried to save it and unfortunately got into Rob Crouch. And these cars are extremely stiff, but so that's why you see the bouncing off. Domingo, he's off in spoon. He just came back on as we fly through 130R. Fabio Ducarmo and Paul Ilbrink battling with each other as we head into the Casio Triangle. Domingo's off once again. And, ooh, this is very tight. Steve Honan. And there goes Domingo. He's off into the pit lane. Do we get a false start penalty?
You know, it might have.
Oh. Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, the little. Oops.
That little just bit of movement. iRacing sensors are very sensitive right there. So he did get a false start penalty. Which, it's just one of those things where you just be like, I can't believe I've done that, but it's just when you get into those types of situations. I remember whenever I do a bunch of road racing and it has a bunch of rolling starts, and then you get into a standing start situation, you see the lights, you're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, that happens to the best of us, and unfortunately for him, you have to make a big charge to get back up. We'll take a look at on board Paul Ilbrink trying to chase down DeCarmo. Paul sitting back in 6th. We're usually seeing him up in the top 3, but he needs to put on a good charge. Carlton over Samborski.
Yeah, they're sitting at the front of your screen. They're going side by side through Spoon. Right there, Samborski, the 2 Americans battling out for 2nd place. And really, this series is America versus Australia and New Zealand. Because those are the 2 biggest countries featured here in this series. We got, well, 5 Americans, and in Australia, we have 5 Australians. So, you can make this as kind of a nation thing. But I'm pretty sure the Formula 3.5 doesn't have a Nations Cup.
And it probably doesn't have the Nations Cup, or like in motocross, it's MX the Nations. So they don't have that. But right now, it's Delisle just out in front. But we're looking at Robert Tarleton that battle with Edward Samborski for the top 3 spots on the podium, with Greg Olson just right behind him, just kind of lurking, waiting for the opportunity to make a pass.
Greg Olson is biding his time, watching what's happening here. And off is Saturino, coming through Dunlop curve. And it spins the car around, trying to get back on track. What has happened here? I think it's just a little bit too much speed. Maybe he got onto the curb on the apex. And then it's just a little bit too much speed through the corner. And with all that downforce, still you gotta modulate the throttle, and because Dunlop curve is so tricky to get right.
Yeah, take a look. Yeah, you do. Look at Paul Ilbrink right now. Still back in 6th spot. Not where we're used to seeing him. He's gonna have a big run here on DeCarmo. He's gonna hang back and gonna wait for another opportunity.
He's lined up a move. He's looking for that inside line on Fabio. He sends it into the Casio Triangle. Very late on the brakes. Cuts in front of Fabio right there. Paul Ilbrink up into 5th. What a move.
Oh, yeah. There's James J. Pinkster, who started last because he didn't have a legal qualifying time, all the way up to 11th spot. Pretty good possibility for him to be the biggest mover of the race.
Well, yeah. He started last place.
Yeah.
And guess what? He is the biggest mover. He's up 8 spots where he qualified. So, well, qualified air quotes, essentially didn't really put in a time. And knowing Paul Ilbrink, he usually tells us that he's not good at qualifying, and he makes up all of his time in the race. And, well, in the last few races with Paul Ilbrink, it actually hasn't been the case. He's been putting in some great qualifying times, and he's been unable to improve on those times in the race because he sometimes qualifies 2nd and 3rd, and he can only make up about 1 place, and he's just trying to go for that top spot. And unfortunately, Tim Delisle, it's just such a fight behind him that he's just getting all this clear room, because Tim Delisle, he has a 3.1 second gap to everybody right now.
Yeah, Tim putting on a clinic out front, but the battle behind him is very intense. Take a look at Flavio here. Had that little spin earlier.
Manuel Domingo, that false start that he got. And he's got Paul Ilbricht's number. Usually Paul Ilbricht's number 2, but his teammate Manuel Domingo, he's going to take number 2. Paul Ilbricht's been demoted to number 3. And I believe Olsen jumps numbers sometimes between 3 and 4. I know last week he was 4 because we had Adam Blocker making his debut as a guest driver for the Nürburgring, which was such a cool experience seeing that.
Yeah, but the one constant's the number 1 of Tim Delisle.
Oh, Simone has a... Is that damage I spotted on Simone?
Boy, it looks a little bit... Oh, onto the curb. That was real dangerous there for Simone.
Simone Pisca loves to live a little bit dangerously. And, nope, there was no damage on him. That was just a little bit of shadow reflecting onto his car, making it look like a bit of it was missing.
And nothing's missing so far. We take a look at James J. Pinkster, or JJ Powers, I would say. Already up to the 11th spot. Going to try to get up to Steve Honan, and then Pizzica right in front of him, back to up to Omar Baja with Phil Reed just behind him.
Yeah, these guys going very tight with each other. Omar Baja just leading out this fight. Let's look at the battle for 9th. Pizzica leading out this battle for 10th behind him between James J. here and Steve Honan. Honan's been going very slow. He's bogged down just a little bit. And let's look back at that Benson and Hedges Formula 3.5 driven by James J. here into Spoon. Honan taking a wide line, and there's Omar Baja. He's off.
Yeah, Baja falls big after going off track there.
Get a replay of what's happened here at Spoon with Omar Baja. Spoon is probably the trickiest corner. He just got into the grass of the braking zone, and he went for a slide right there. Had to go fully around, but enough to just really hurt his position. He's now sitting in 12th place. James J. Pacer, while we were looking at that replay, got past Steve Honan, and he's up in the 9th place. Here's Jason Henrique trying to get into the draft of Steve Honan, but he's got DRS activated. You can tell if the car is using DRS. If you cannot see through the rear wing, then they have DRS open. If you can see through it, DRS is not activated. It's just a little graphical thing on iRacing, but DRS works just like it does in real life. You have 8 uses of DRS, and you can use it whenever you want.
Yeah, most drivers like to save the DRS towards the end of the race. I know that's one thing that Delisle does, Olsen, Ilbricht, pretty much all the heavy hitters for sure save the DRS to the end of the race.
Well, actually, last week, Tim Delisle told us that he was using more DRS towards the front to try to get away from Tarleton to get out of that draft race. That's about 2.4 seconds in these cars that have a lot of dirty air. So if you just went in that 2-second window, you're going to get some of that draft. And, well, Tim's clear that he's going to be saving those DRS till the end, but it's a smart strategy to try to get that lead earlier on, especially if everyone's fighting behind you. That's just going to give you more time to pat the stats and get a good time, as this is Shane Russell on the outside of Spoon.
Yeah, you know, Tim is able to get a good gap in, you know, 3.1 second back gap, and yeah, I'm probably hang on to that. Alessandro, that's a really nice looking car there.
Yeah, and I also noticed on his cockpit, it says Race Strong on his well, little cockpit side. Actually, no, that is not what it says. That says Race is Long. Reminding himself that it's not a short sprint race. It is a long race. He needs to be a little bit more patient. So that's pretty cool that he has that right there. A little bit of a personal reminder.
Yeah, I have a reminder on my monitor that says "Don't be a moron," and I usually read it and say, "Oh, I'll be fine," and then I usually race like a moron sometimes. So that's what I have stuck on my monitor.
I don't have any messages stuck on my monitor because I would tend to misread them.
You know, guys, if I may interject with the broadcast and hello to everyone, since the day I started iRacing, I have like a framed picture of not a picture of oh dear.
Come on, you're looking at it right now.
NASCAR commentator, help me.
Darrell Waltrip.
No, the crew chief of Dale Earnhardt. How can I not remember his name?
Well, Darren Grubb at one point was crew chief of the 11. But...
Oh dear.
The only crew chief I know is Ray
Larry
Abraham.
McReynolds. Larry McReynolds. I have a picture of Larry McReynolds, and I added a quote on Photoshop saying that it's okay to finish second. So that's my. But I know plenty of sim racers who have reminders on their screen about be careful, don't be an idiot, etc. So certainly, Avery, you're not alone.
Or race fuel.
Or weight jacker plus does this, weight jacker negative does that,
That is on my wheel. That's on my wheel.
Oh, you betcha.
I have those little notes at my wheel whenever I try to figure out which button does what, especially when I do IndyCar. I always have little messages. Weight jacker does this.
Look at Robert Tarleton. They're putting on a little bit of a gap over Samborski, but Eddie just started to reel him back in with that help of the toe.
Yeah, these two are going to go at it with each other. Samborski looking for that tighter line off the exit, trying to go for a switchback, and make up a lot of ground on the exit up here, especially if the car in front of you just takes it a little bit too wide. It gets into those curbing, and that's probably what Samborski is trying to avoid right there, because the back end loves getting out if you just ride on those curves right now. And this battle for second is very interesting to watch between Tarleton and Samborski, but also look behind there. Greg Olson, he's just sitting there and watching this fight for second place as they head into 130R. It's between Robert Tarleton and that number 11 Marlboro Ferrari versus Edward Samborski in that DFR Shred Life car. And I wanted to say crash test because he has a crash test helmet on. But Samborski is actually one of the cleaner drivers.
Oh yeah, Samborski is a very clean driver. I was gonna ask him once, not in an interview, if he had ever had like a Mr. Clean logo on him, because that's just kind of how clean of a driver he is. It's like just the Mr. Clean.
And being clean makes it all the way to the end of the race. As we're switching now to the battle for 11th between Enrique and Baja as they go through the S's.
Yeah, Enrique, running that. Ooh, Flavio off again. Oh.
This is Casio triangle. His back end got out of him. And let's ride on board with Donovan Gattemeyer. See if he can catch up with Flavio. Flavio just hit that curb off the entrance. And he went around, and here's Gattemeyer making up that move.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful when you get into the curbs there, eh?
Yeah, the curbs just upset the car, and around you'll go without even knowing about it. And this balance of this car, it has to be spot on for all the tires to work with it. As Tarleton's starting to pull a gap, Samborski, as Olsen is starting to catch up to Everett Samborski, and I think, Baja's off his spoon. Again.
Oh, Baja going off again. No.
Back end probably got out on him. Well, it's not the same thing, but this time it was not on the entrance. It was the exit of the first part. Just got into the curb and around he went. That is incredibly unfortunate for Omar Baja. So we're looking at this battle for second. Greg Olson following these two guys ever since the start. Bring up our onboard unit. And since we aren't on an American, it is not in Freedom units, unfortunately. So I have no idea on how referenced this is to miles per hour. But for everyone else in the world, this makes perfect sense.
All I know is they're going fast. They're going fast. And Greg Olson,
they def going fast.
They're getting on that throttle pedal and they're just digging. Look at Greg Olson though. I mean, just kind of sitting back there, about a half second back from Samborski. Still in the toe, so still in good striking distance, maintaining a good pace. Probably only using the DRS when you want to with this 5K SOF. Wow, that's...
Henrique's off. As well as Saturino. I think Henrique just had a massive meet with the Degna curves. This is on board with him. Degna, one big hit of the curve, big slide. And, well, he saved it. Here's Luke Groom. Gonna take up a freebie right there. But great save by Henrique. And here is Phil Reed. He's gone slow. He's... Oh, no. Spoon has another victim. I remember when the iRacing Endurance Series came here, everyone was so worried. I was so worried about Spoon. I never went off and had a spin here. I just kept crashing into 130R.
Come on, Austin. Come on.
Hey, I made it to the pit box, okay?
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow, look at Honan and Reed. Oh, Reed was just...
Ooh. That was some elbows out driving by Steve Honan. Reed being forced to go off the track, even when he was off the track, he's like, I'm going to try to go for the move anyway.
So is Reed really racing elbows up with the controller?
Well, I don't know how Reed races with controllers, but whenever I race a controller, I would lean a lot.
I lean a lot with the wheel, man.
Okay.
Oh, look at Honan.
Speaking of leaning, do you ever lean when you're bowling? Or is that just a me thing?
I don't know, I just throw it.
You just throw it like away?
I don't know what I'm doing. But one thing. Oh yeah, that's the
Well,
one.
with the air screen now, that kind of defeats the purpose.
I still like it, Marco. I like it. What's one thing I do like? I like this battle for the 7th position with Suzuka and Pinkster. Pinkster's already up 11 spots. He just makes 12.
Two of the biggest, more aggressive drivers in the field going side by side is very nerve-wracking. But James J. Pacer jumps up down to the inside of Simone Pizzica and up into 7th. And to be honest, I was expecting maybe a slight bit of contact right there because they were both very late on the brakes.
And you know what, Austin? We're already past the halfway point. This race is just flying by.
It is flying by, and the person who is flying, Tim Delisle, up in the lead to set the fastest lap time. Last lap of a 1:42.995. 2/10 faster than Robert Charlton behind him. And, well, 2/10 faster than his fastest lap time.
The air traffic control just told Tim Delisle to start preparing for landing, so get ready for him to land in about 10 more laps. Man, Tim is just putting on a clinic. You know, every time I watch him race, well, pretty much this whole split, I just feel like I get a little bit better, and then I drive the car, and I'm still not better.
Yeah, some people learn by watching others, and, well, that's called studying film. You can watch Tim Delisle race every day for an entire straight day. You'll pick up some good stuff, but it's seat time that he says is the key to this car. You just gotta have a lot of seat time and everything. And Tim Delisle wakes up, goes to bed, wakes up again early in the morning to do these races, and he just has all that seat time in the Formula 3.5 that he just knows this car like the back of his hand. And that just shows you on how good he is, because seat time is like the most important thing here in Formula 3.5. It's just like karting. The guys who are very good at karting, they got a lot of seat time. And sometimes if you're getting enough time and seat time, it kind of hurts you because you're only good at one thing and you'll be stuck in the World Karting Championship for your entire life. But you can still make a living about that. Sam Borsky's off in turn 1. No, this is in the S's. Well, that battle for second was looking very good, and then Samborski, he's got suspension damage, and he's going to tow it off of the track. Very big news here. Oh no, Samborski through the S's. And back end is caught out of him. Oversteer, boom, into the wall. You can already see he's got a lot of damage on that back left side of the car. And he's towed it into pit lane. That promotes Olsen up into third. Just watching the battle for seventh. Pizka, Reed, and Honan. Honan went wide as Phil Reed went down to the inside. And Phil Reed, for being a pad driver, very smooth right there.
Oh, you hate to see it for Samborski. Running up in the podium spot, just makes an error and just destroys the race car. Take a look at your iRating gains right now. It's a 62 gain of iRating for Pizzica, which is really good. So that's a good run so far for him, but he's gonna
look at how hunk and sugar change that Tarleton's getting 90.
Yeah. Big lap for Olsen behind him there. A couple tenths quicker.
New personal best for Olsen.
It's always a good time to be at a new personal best when you're on the racetrack in a race, not in just a practice session. So really good for Olsen. And I tell you what,
new fast lap for him in the race.
In the race, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean personal best in the race, but you want to be running your best laps like right now. I mean, you just need to be pushing the limits because, you know, yeah, Tim Delisle is out of reach for every competitor pending a big mistake, but Tarleton's in reach for Greg Olsen. So I mean, he's pushing the limits, using those VRS very wisely. So you be wanting to run the best times you can right now, and really putting on a good run for him. But Steve Honan too, you know, really trying to catch up to Reed. And Steve's one of the guys that you always see run kind of in that top 10. And that's where he's at right now, but he doesn't want to settle for 9th. He's trying to get up to at least 8th. And a big lockup for Pizzica.
Not what Pizzica wanted right there. Hurting his tires and falling away from James J. Pizzica, who's just pulled straight away from Simone Pizzica. Just shows you the level of pace that James had. It makes you really wonder what would his qualifying time would have been if it was legal. He's up 13 spots right now.
Yeah, what a strong run from JJ Power all the way up to 6th place, man. Look at DeCarmo.
And just look at the times that James been closing in. Each lap 7 tenths, 2 tenths, 300ths, then back to 7ths, then 400ths at 4 tenths, and now last lap 300ths of a time. He's got like a little pattern going on. 2 big chunks and then a little bit of a hundreds, and a new fastest lap. Paul Ilbrink puts in a 1:42.904. So Paul Ilbrink now the fastest car on track now. Trying to give Tim Delisle a little bit running for his money, and I know Tim, he really likes having all those stats to himself. Pole, fastest lap, led every lap of the race. What else?
Victory.
Victory, yeah. That comes
champion.
With the win. No, it's not champion. It's not champion.
Biggest gap.
No. It's Le Champion. Le Champion. But that's at the end, and Steve. Oh. Hairpin, not a fan. This is Steve Honan heading into the hairpin and that Renault, and ooh.
Oh yeah,
he escaped with that one.
Oh, you betcha.
Canadian on this?
Oh, you betcha is a Midwest, South Dakotan, North Dakotan kind of thing. So it's not that's not Canadian.
Okay, South Canada.
Close. But I tell you what, Austin, man, this battle for 7th has been heating up. It was a 3-way battle for 7th, but unfortunately, you know, Steve had a little whoops. But now, oh, look at Pizzica going to try to defend here.
Yeah, Pizzica defending something we don't see a lot. He's going to try to force Phil Reed down low, but Phil Reed swings it onto the inside Simone Pisco, and that's another spot lost for Simone. And I think this is Pisco is just, he's having a little bit of downfall. And here's Edward Samborski coming out of the pit lane. See him testing the suspension already. And yeah, I feel like he just feels it's just a little bit too broken. And just came back into the pit lane. And this is Phil Reed. Phil Reed's going slow.
Ooh. Car was already a little upset.
Oh, that was a big... Oh, that twitch right there. Snap oversteer. He caught it, though. Catch it from the wall, but it does... That will be hurting him if he drops into 9th place now by Steve Honan. As, speaking of Steve Honan, he's caught up to Pizzica. Both of them getting up onto the curves. And we saw Honan have troubles here. We're going to see it again. Oh, again in the braking zone. He needs to fiddle with his brake bias. Because the setting he has right now is just hurting him.
It's not working for him right now. Look at Luke Groom. Haven't really talked much about him this race. Leading that train. He's leading that train of Henrique and Baja. Man, really good run for Luke, getting it back up into the 10th position.
Yeah, and the Americans, well, this is the American train in 10th, 11th, and 12th. And Luke Groom, Jason Enrique, and Omar Baja, all these guys really know each other pretty well. They all run they all run together. I know that.
All aboard. You see this train's going to keep moving. They got 5-second gap between them and 9th, so the chance of them catching them with about 4 laps to go, it's just probably not going to happen. But take a look at Alessandro here. Has a good chance to catch up to them if they all start battling. So he's like, I need y'all to start battling. I need that spot. So hopefully for his sake, they're going to start battling for the final spot in the top 10. Looking back, Luke Groom.
Luke Groom, being the train leader, is actually the slowest of all 3 of these drivers. They're all being able to stay in his draft and just slowly put in faster times on him as well, the lap slows down, though. It's more about can he get past Luke Groom than keeping up with him. Because you can stay with a guy, but you got to overtake him for that position to count.
It's one thing to catch up to him, it's another thing to overtake him.
Yeah,
Wise man once said that.
Yeah, I was putting in a time with AJ Allmendinger, and me and him, we put in very close lap times. So I stayed with him for most of the race, but I just couldn't overtake him. And
look at that lap by Tarleton.
Yeah, Tarleton, new fastest lap. Let's bring up that graphic again now. Our 3rd different driver to put in the fastest lap of a 1:42.85, and I'm going to start saying he's used DRS to get that time as Baja gets past Enrique.
We need a couple more overtakes for Alessandro to kind of get into that toe to make it a 4-way battle for the top 10. It's led by Groom. And it's Baja. Man, that's a cool car.
Yeah, Baja's
They're all cool. They're almost all cool.
Almost. Okay, which one's the not cool one?
The one I usually run, mine's a driving school one. It just says driving school, so watch out. I don't really have a favorite car. I mean, I did like James Pinkster's car for many seasons, but he kind of changed it up a little bit, so that it's not my favorite at the moment. Probably Henrique is one of my favorites. I just like the nice and simple, plain paint scheme.
I'm a little bit of a flashy guy. I love Samborski's paint scheme. He has a lot of interesting stuff on there. Last season, it had like a circuit board design on it. Now with that chrome, it has like this little engraved, I think it says Shred Life all over it in the chrome. It's a very interesting thing, but we can't really show it off right now because, well, he's out of this race. And I know Marco, he's not a fan of this team in real life, but he is a fan of this paint scheme. Which, oh no!
Oh, no. Luke Groom gets tapped in the back by Baja. And a very dangerous exit. Look how far Baja is. Watch how close he comes. Watch how quickly and fast he gets by him. Baja into the back of Groom. Groom goes around, and there is no runoff there. So the fact that he avoided the wall is absolutely crucial. Let's ride on board with Baja. Just look at this closing speed.
Yeah, had a huge run and just kind of ran out of real estate.
Yeah.
You hate to see it. You really do.
There's the times where you want to, hey, I want to close in on my buddy. Just a little bit, then you do it, and next thing you know, you're right on top of him, and then there's just nowhere to go. Or 130-yard Suzuka, it's a pretty narrow bit of track. You can go 2x2 here, but that's after like setting up for the quarter. When you're not close to each other on entrance and then close to each other on exit, it just takes you by surprise. And also, you got that sun in your eyes, so you're kind of blinded too.
Yeah, you get that sun in your eyes, and it makes it a little more difficult to see. And unfortunately for that,
and
Delisle. Oh my God! Not just a quick time.
Well,
4:10.
Delisle's back into qualifying mode. That's a qualifying lap where he just did. Delisle just curb stomped the competition in the fast lap. 1:42.45. 4/10 faster than Tarleton.
Major props to Robert Tarleton, though, putting on a really good run, sitting in second place. Like you said earlier, doesn't usually get the best starts, but really had a great start and a great run. Greg Olson also putting on a good run. All three are relatively comfortable in the podium positions, but Paul Ilbrink is kind of closing a little bit. Take a look at Phil Reed here. Might have gone off track a little bit with going back with the replay here. The UKNI driver. We'll see. Ooh.
Second
lots of
spin of the day.
Lots of spins so far today, Austin, as this race is starting to wind down.
Yeah, Suzuka is filled with a lot of medium speed corners, which are probably the trickiest to set up a car because it's a combination of mechanical grip and aerodynamics, and you don't want to rely on the aerodynamics too much because you need the top speed here. And so some of these guys be focusing a lot on the high downforce, which is the key here, but they want to go with the lowest setting on the highest downforce stuff and then try to trim out the car. And just a little bit too much trim and you're working those tires, and at the end of the race those tires are going to give out as white flag is in the air for Tim Delisle, who is 6 seconds in the lead. Robert Tarleton gets the white flag, as well as Greg Olson, who puts in his new fast lap of the race, 1:42.968. Paul Ilbrink closing in on Greg Olson. We might have a fight for third on this last lap, but they're behind by a second. But if you look at lap 19, he gained an entire second on Greg Olson, so it is possible for Paul Ilbrink to gain that spot on Greg Olson for third. As Tarleton, he lost 4/10 that last lap to Greg Olson. So Tarleton and Olson struggling this last time by, so they might be taking it a little bit easy. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a big fight. Speaking of a big fight and a big mover, oh no, Phil Reed's off again. Oh, this is on the end. This is coming out of turn one into the S's. But speaking of big fights and big movers, James A. Pincer, he's caught up. I think he's being caught by Simone Pizzico behind. No, he's caught to Fabio Di Carmo. But it's Tim Delisle in the lead since lap one. He's got the fastest lap by a mile. He's got the pole. He's led every lap from the first bit of the asphalt to the last. It's another grand slam for Tim Delisle.
Wow.
And he does it with authority by putting in the fastest lap of the race. And we got a battle for 11th. Reed, Rockatello closing in on Reed. Reed's got damage on his car. He's going to defend on the inside. Cut off the nose of Rockatello, though, looking around the outside. He's got the speed on the straight. Can Rockatello hold it on through 130R? Swings it around the outside. Alessandro, Rockatello, and Shane Russell trying to get past Phil Reed. A little bit of lag for Reed right there, getting in front of Russell. But Rockatello gets it in for 11th. Phil Reed tries to get a good exit, but he's going to defend into 12th place. And, oh my God!
I think Phil Reed's done with that car. Everybody back at the shop.
Track.
Everybody's back at the shop. Need to get a new car for next week.
Get a new car, get a new contract. Yeah, that was just out of stress. You wanted that to end. Well, there's post-race celebrations for you. Just murder. So this is Flavio Saturino, who's had a very rough day today. I think we got 14 off tracks for him. Very rough day for Flavio. Came across the line in 17th, but that is your race here for the Formula 3.5 Championship at Suzuka. Tim Delisle grand slams it home once again at Suzuka, and he just loves this place. He's followed by Robert Charlton and Greg Olson, completing your podium. We'll be joined by them in the post-race interviews very soon. Behind them, it is Paul Ilbrick, Fabio DiCarmo, James A. Pinster, Simone Pisca, Steve Honan, Omar Baja, Jason Enrique, Alessandro Rockatello, Phil Reed, Shane Russell, Luke Groom, Donovan Gadamar, Manuel Domingo, Flavio Saturino, Edward Samborski, and Rob Crouch, and Rob Samborski and Reed. All of them are going to be looking at car repairs for next week.
Absolutely, Austin.
Yeah, look, Phil Reed, his car wasn't that bad until he crossed the line.
Yeah,
but that's a top 10 moment for me, because I really haven't seen anyone just... I got to celebrate a race by turning into the wall and just send myself flipping end over end. That's just showing frustration, but somebody who's not showing any frustration, who's been knocking it out of the park day in and day out, and today he did it on qualifying, his first lap and only lap, because on the second lap he went off track, and then lap 1 knocked it out of the park, and then all the way to the last lap, setting in a qualifying time on his last lap. Ladies and gentlemen, it's another grand slam and another win for Tim Delisle.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
I don't speak Japanese, I can't respond to that, but Marco does.
Konnichiwa.
That's about.
How you feeling, Tim?
Really good. That's probably the best I've felt all season, actually. So yeah, really happy with this race.
Yeah, this race is smooth as butter for you right now, because nothing seemed to go wrong for you. Except for qualifying.
Yeah, I actually had an off track at Spoon anyway, so on the first lap was actually really good. I was super happy with it, except I screwed up the chicane a bit, so I just wanted to see how much time I left on the table, and I was going to really push that second lap into the chicane just because I knew I'd already stuffed my lap anyway, and then yeah, had a bit of a lock up, and I think I touched the grass, so yeah, that was the biggest mistake I made whole session. So yeah, just really happy. I did stuff up my last lap a bit. I was just on track for a 42 flat, or maybe make it into the 41s, so I missed the chicane a tiny bit, but yeah, you know, just couldn't be happier with how everything's gone. Yeah, just a confidence boost. You know, I've been struggling for a while, so yeah, happy.
Yeah, the start of the season, it looked like this might have been the end of, well, the dominant streak, and some questions were arising, but with these last few races, you've just been hammering in the point that you're here to stay.
I think it helps Nürburgring and especially Suzuka here. Like, I love the track. It's Suzuka in this car. I think this and Silverstone are just the two best car track combinations in the world. Like, it's amazing to drive. So when you're having fun, sometimes, if you're on a track you don't like maybe Indy next week, practice isn't as fun, and so maybe you're not pushing yourself as hard as you could. So whereas this week, I loved it. So yeah, just a perfect combination for me.
Well, week 5 is in the books for you with a big old win. As you said, you aren't a fan of Indy, so hopefully it's going to you're going to put in some practice times in there and see how you do it. But before we let you go off and start practicing there, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, Positive Sim Racing. We did a lot of work on setup this week, trying to find the sweet spot, which is hard because conditions here, like the wind, affects balance a lot. Eventually found a good compromise for the race, and Greg managed to get it up in P3 at the end, so that's awesome as well. You guys for the coverage. Robert, amazing start. I had to squeeze him a bit. I was thinking Prost center, but thankfully nothing happened there. So yeah, good race to everyone, and also just on a more serious note to James Mallow. He's had some health issues lately, and we got news the other day that he's out of the hospital now and recovering at home, so that's awesome to hear. And James, I don't know if you're able to see this or not, but we're all pulling for you, so yeah, good luck.
Yeah, that's great news to hear. Thank you, Tim DeLisle. And congrats on the win, and we're going to bring it over to Avery, who is standing by with Greg Olson.
Hey, Greg, congrats on a podium finish there. How was the race from your eyes?
Thank you. It was a fairly simple race, to be honest. I felt like I messed up my quali lap, so I was a little bit out of position, but I was just happy to follow Robert and Ed and see how that battle developed. I was just happy to kind of stay in the slipstream and get carried around. And then Ed made his mistake, so I thought maybe I was a chance for P2. So I used my DRS to attack Robert a bit, and I got within about half a second. But then I had a big moment at turn 1, and that was kind of it, really. Robert had not much better pace, but a little bit better pace to me. So it was all about really just keeping the gap to Paul. So yeah, it went really well.
Yeah, you maintained a good gap to Paul, and like you said, you're able to stay in the slipstream, which really helped. And just kind of had a little bit of an off track, but it really it's got to feel really good to be in a podium position in a 5K SOF with this car. I mean, it's got to be very tough to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's gotten even tougher this season. I think Tim mentioned it in Okayama, but I think we've both kind of really had a confidence hit this season because everyone's really stepped up with the new tires. I think everyone's really taking advantage of the extra grip, and it's brought them closer, So I'm having to work really hard to get these podium finishes or even a top 5. Like last week at Nürburgring, I raced really hard and I only got 6th. So no, absolutely, I'm really happy to be back on the podium.
Yeah, it's great for everybody that tunes in to these races here on Apex Racing TV, because if you want to run well, you got to be fast and you can't be a slouch. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Positive Sim Racing and my teammates, especially Tim and Lubomir. They've been pushing really hard with the Renault 3.5 in particular. And you guys, as always, for the broadcast.
Oh, we appreciate it. Congratulations on a podium. We'll see you next week at my favorite racetrack, Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
No worries. See you then.
That's Greg Olson. Austin, what a fantastic run for him.
Yeah, Greg had a great race today. Got onto the podium after a small mistake by Everett Stamborski. And, well, we were hoping to have Robert Talton join us in the booth, but he decided not to decline that interview. So, usually we go with all the podium finishers, but I say let's go to our biggest mover of the race, somebody who got disqualified on both his qualifying laps and moved up 13 spots through the field. Ladies and gentlemen, James J. Pinsker.
Yeah! Most positions gained trophy. Get in there.
Also known as the crap qualifier trophy.
Yep. I mean, it's been a tradition of me qualifying badly, but I mean, invalidating both laps, that's even bad for me.
I've never even done that.
Yeah, great.
Well, James, how was that race and moving through the field? Because you were flying past some of these guys.
Yeah, well, I saw after I invalidated my laps, I mean, I saw the lap times that I would have had, and it would have been about maybe P8 to P12 on the grid. So, in reality, even if I set my laps, then I'd have probably only finished one place higher today. So, I think the race result, I can't really complain. It was very scary on lap 1 because there was Rob, I think it was, who was doing like gymnastics on the exit of Digna 2. They were just fun to avoid. And yeah, it was very tight in general because there's a lot of I mean, this track is quite scary when you got a lot of traffic around. But I survived that. I didn't think I would, so that was a positive. And then I just slowly cut through. And then in the last like 5-10 laps, I was running down Fabio at about 5/10 a lap, closer and closer and closer. And I just ran out of time, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, P6 is pretty good.
Well, next week we're going to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. How are you feeling about that race?
Ooh, Indianapolis. That was the one last season where I was running medium downforce and everyone else was on high downforce. And when we gridded, I was because all the setups that were made by like the consumers setup chains were like medium downforce, and I hadn't done much practice, and that was my first race. So when I went to the grid and I was on medium downforce and everyone else was on high, it like really caught me off. And I asked in voice chat, "Hey, is everyone like playing games? Aren't we all supposed to be on medium downforce, or what's going on?" And then I had to do the whole race like 20 k's faster on the straight and 2 seconds
Struggle bus
corners. Yeah, so we're not going to do that again, I hope. But yeah, this should be an interesting race, I guess. It's quite different driving around that track with the massive oval section on it.
Yeah, Indianapolis is always a interesting time whenever we get there, and it should be very interesting next week. Well, James, congrats on the biggest mover and finishing up in 6th place. Before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
I'd like to thank Jordan Grand Prix for supplying my livery. Does that come up on the broadcast, or is that just?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful.
What a livery.
Yeah.
Love Damon. What a driver. He won his championship here, I think. Love Damon Hill. And
Damon's cool.
not really anyone else I need to thank, to be honest. Hate you all.
All right.
That was a good run by JJ Power, though. Wow, I like that.
Yeah, JJ Power back in the big game. He'll be back next week as well.
Awesome. It's good. We'll see you next week at the greatest track in the world,
Yeah.
Indianapolis Speedway.
Yep, maybe the road course isn't the greatest track ever, but I'll give you the oval if you want. And yeah, thanks for the broadcast. It'll be fun to watch this back afterwards, and I hope everyone watching the stream enjoyed it. I'm sure you all did.
All right, thank you, James. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day, and hopefully you have some good practice and a actual qualifying time next week. Avery, any closing thoughts here at Suzuka?
Well, I'd like to make a big shout out to Steve Myers and Dale Jr. for hanging out on the Ferris wheel the whole time and just cheering us on. It's such another fun race. Formula 3.5 here at Suzuka. If you like what you see, come in next week, same time. We'll be going to the greatest racetrack in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And if there's one race that I look forward to here in this series, it's that one. So I'll be back here next week, and I'm excited already.
And I'll also be back here next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Apex Racing TV for another amazing round of the iRacing Formula 3.5 Challenge. I've been joined by Avery McDonald and Marco Barbonera in the booth, in the production truck, and in the IT department. He was very busy here today. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Avery, for joining. I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a great night.